Starting up. Thank you for joining us for the League's latest Lunch and Learn, training specifics of the National Flood Insurance Program, better known as NFIP, and floodplain management for local community officials. I'm Mike Serra, I'm the League's Executive Director, and I thank you for joining us here today. Just some quick reminders, this session is being recorded and it will be made available online either later today or by tomorrow. We would add, we are running this through as a Zoom meeting, so would ask that if you please keep your microphones on mute so we don't get any background noise and the presenter isn't disturbed. As well, you can drop questions into the chat box. We can also open up at the end for discussion. But if you could drop the questions in the chat box, we can prepare for answers. We might even be able to provide you with some links as well. So with that, today we have the Department of Environmental Protection joining us to discuss the NFIP program and floodplain management for local community officials. I mentioned this is being recorded and available later. We'll try to get you the PowerPoint as well. C.R. Bradley, our research associate, is monitoring the questions as mentioned before. So with that, I want to thank the department. John, I know you're here as well. Thank you for putting this together. And I'd like to thank and introduce our speaker, Joe Ruggieri, sorry, Joe, who's the supervising engineer from the NJ State National Flood Insurance Program Coordinator's Office. We'll also, any questions that can't be answered, we'll share with Joe as well for follow-up as well. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Appreciate it. And with that, Joe, I'll pass you the baton.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for attending the short lunch and learn today. I'd like to thank the League for hosting us. And, we're trying to get the message out to, the mayors, business administrators about this free course that we have available on FEMA's NFIP program. As most of you may know, this is a very important program for the communities to, in order to maintain their good standing with FEMA and the NFIP, communities need to do certain things. And this training, the reason why we're doing this training, we receive funding from FEMA through NJOEM grant funding to put on this training. And we actually did this training several years ago also in 2017, 18, 19. We put on this training also, but we've started it up again late last year in Gloucester County. And we've done the training about 4 times so far this year, and we have 3 more times scheduled opportunities for local officials to learn about their responsibilities under the National Flood Insurance Program through this training. So I'm going to go over a little bit about the training itself and the benefits and why the local officials, we recommend that as many local officials as possible attend this training that we have available, and we'll have more information on, when that training is going to take place and how to sign up for it. So this is just a quick agenda. Why take the New Jersey NFIP training? We'll go over that. We'll go over a little bit of the course overview and how to register for the training itself. So, flood risks. I mean, we hear about flooding more and more nowadays in New Jersey. Flooding is actually, and it has been for a long time, it's been the #1 natural hazard in New Jersey. But things are changing. The intensity and duration of flooding has changed. So where we may have gotten 40+ inches of rainfall in a year, we may still get about the same, maybe a little bit more, but that rain is coming in a shorter period of time. And so it's a shorter duration and higher intensity. So what happens is where we might have gotten 3 inches of rain over 3 days, we might get that 3 inches of rain over a couple hours. And when that happens, that there is the risk of flooding, and we see that more and more nowadays. So municipalities have a responsibility under the NFIP, and that's a voluntary program that in New Jersey we have 553 communities that participate in the NFIP out of 564 communities. So we've got almost 100% participation rate. There's a lot of benefits for participating in the NFIP, and that comes with certain responsibilities. And that's why this training is important, so that local officials understand those responsibilities, and the community can remain in good standing with the NFIP and with FEMA. So every NFIP community has to designate what's called a local floodplain administrator. And that local floodplain administrator has a plethora of responsibility under the local ordinance to ensure that the community is doing everything that it's supposed to under the requirements of the NFIP. And our training is geared to assist the local official and the local floodplain administrator in understanding his role. Our class, FEMA provided funding through NJOEM to the NJDEP to administer and provide this class. And the goal of the class is to train the local floodplain administrator, but we would also like to train the code officials, town engineers, zoning officers, because they need to understand what's required under the NFIP to assist that local floodplain administrator. And New Jersey also has higher standards than FEMA's minimum standards. So the local officials and local floodplain administrator needs to understand those higher standards. So the way we actually have the course set up, it's a 3-day course, not 3 days consecutive. We provide about 2 weeks in between, so that attendees can review information that we go over in each class. And the first 2 days are strictly on the NFIP standards. And then the third day is actually on New Jersey's higher standards, because New Jersey has some higher floodplain management standards, some higher building code standards, and all those requirements need to be followed by the local communities. So what is the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program? Well, like I said, it's a voluntary federal program that, through participation by the community, property owners are able to purchase federal flood insurance. The program's administered by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So it's a voluntary mutual agreement between the community and the federal government to adopt and enforce a local flood damage prevention ordinance. And through the community's participation and enforcement in good standing in the NFIP, residents and also, anybody who has property, even the municipality that owns property, is eligible to purchase federal flood insurance. Federally backed mortgages and loans are made available to the community. The community is also eligible to apply for federal grants and loans. And after a federally declared disaster, communities eligible for post-disaster public assistance. So all those things would not be available if the community wasn't participating in the National Flood Insurance Program. So the local floodplain administrator, who's designated in the local flood damage prevention ordinance, carries that responsibility of ensuring that the community is following the requirements under that ordinance. So the FPA is the community's champion for sound floodplain management. It's a mandated position for communities that participate in the NFIP. And there's also a certification program that's not required, but it's recommended that local officials obtain their what's called a certified floodplain manager designation. So this is administered through the National Association of State Floodplain Managers. There's an exam that if you score over 70%, you do get your CFM designation. And the training that we provide will get the attendee ready for this exam if they wish to take it. So it is something that we also would recommend. So responsibilities of the floodplain administrators,
What?
you know, the main responsibility is to, like I said, administer that ordinance. So there's a review for any floodplain development permits. Any development that's proposed within the special flood hazard area needs to be reviewed by that local floodplain administrator. And FEMA's definition of development isn't only building structures, but any type of work that's done within that special flood hazard area. It could be fill, grading, that also has to be reviewed by the floodplain administrator. So the floodplain administrator will discourage any development, any risky development within the floodplain when there's alternatives that are possible. Restrict developments in the floodway, and the floodway is a central portion of the floodplain where we have higher velocities and more deeper flow and higher velocity. So, the floodplain administrator also educate community members, local officials about the requirements and benefits of floodplain management, and provide information to property owners like flood elevations and also other flood risk data. So what are the benefits of our training that's available? First of all, because we receive that grant funding from FEMA, there's no cost to attend this training. So it's 3 days of free training. We'll provide an in-depth knowledge of higher standards in New Jersey, higher floodplain management standards. There's hands-on learning with knowledgeable instructors. The training we provide, in-person training. We also provide the attendees with a link to a website where they can get additional PowerPoints, additional training videos, and additional documents on the NFIP outside of the in-person training. We also offer continuing education credits for attendees who are already certified floodplain managers, and also for attendees who need uniform construction code credits. We could provide those. And the CFM exam, if you're a local official and you participate in the course, you attend the 3 days, we could provide funding to take the exam also, because there is a cost to take the exam through ASFBM, but as part of the grant, we can cover that cost for attendees who want to take get their CFM certification. It's a little bit about the overview of the course. Like I said, the first 2 days, again, it's 3 days of training. They're not consecutive. There's a break in between each day. The first 2 days cover strictly NFIP requirements. We go over different concepts, including flood zone designations. Some of FEMA's flood zones, there's AE zones, there's V zones along our coasts. Requirements for NFIP communities, we'll go over all the requirements. How to find online and how to read a flood insurance rate map and the related flood tables, and also your flood insurance studies. We'll also go over specific building requirements for your Zone A's and Zone V's, elevation certificates, understanding how those are filled out and what's required in the elevation certificates, how to calculate substantial damage and substantial improvement. You know, that's one of the key roles of a local floodplain administrator. If there's a disaster and a structure is damaged, you know, the local floodplain administrator needs to calculate that damage and see if it's substantial. By substantial, we mean over 50% of the market value of the structure. Also, if there's any proposed improvements that are over 50% of the market value of the structure, there's other requirements that kick in. Alignment between the NFIP and other federal regulations are discussed in the first 2 days. And hazard mitigation planning and the current hazard mitigation grant programs. We also in the class have hands-on exercises and quizzes. So that's the first 2 days of the training. Now the third day, which, you know, I sometimes feel that the third day is probably even more important than the first 2 days, is New Jersey specific. And on that third day, we'll go over all of New Jersey's higher standards. And the local floodplain administrators, if you work in New Jersey, you really need to understand all of New Jersey's higher standards. So New Jersey's floodplain management regulations mostly exceed the NFIP regulations and therefore are considered more restrictive. So we'll go over where to find the resources needed to understand the New Jersey higher standards. We'll learn about the Flood Hazard Area Control Act, Inland Flood Protection Rule, and other state-specific regulations. You know, understand how to determine the local design flood elevation. You know, if somebody's proposing development, what elevation does that need to be? What minimum elevation does that need to be built to? How do you determine that local design flood elevation? And we'll have exercises in the class to go over that. Participants learn the types of permits and the ordinances that are required as part of the National Flood Insurance Program. So again, a little bit about the Certified Floodplain Manager exam. So this is a certification that's available through the National Floodplain Management Organization, known as the Association of State Floodplain Managers. This lays the foundation for ensuring that highly qualified individuals are available to meet the challenges of breaking the damage, rebuild cycle of the nation's human, financial, and natural resources. So what that means is, you know, if we build structures in the wrong place or we build them incorrectly, then when there's a flood disaster, you know, you're going to have damage and you're going to have to rebuild. So we want to ensure that structures are built properly the first time so that, you know, if we have a storm event, that structure will still be able to withstand that future flood risk. So, and also, if a community has a CFM as a floodplain manager, that increases their CRS points. That's a community rating system. So that's another program. If you participate in the NFIP, if the community participates already, then they can go above and beyond the minimum NFIP standards and join what's called the community rating system, where residents can receive a discount on their flood insurance if communities do certain activities that go above and beyond the National Flood Insurance Program. But again, that starts with having a CFM as your local floodplain administrator. So like I said, we highly recommend that. I mean, as a minimum, your local floodplain administrator attend the trainings, but also code officials, zoning officers, town engineers. And how do you register for the course? So far we've done courses down last year. We started in November down in Gloucester County. In January, we went up to Bergen County. February, we did some training, the 3-day training in Monmouth County. And we're between, we've done the first and second day already in Somerset County, and we're going to be doing the third day. You don't have to live in the specific county to attend the course. You could attend it anywhere. Upcoming is Union County in July. We're going to be doing 3 days in July. And in the fall, we're going to also be doing Atlantic County and Morris County. And we don't have the courses planned for next year, but we're going to try to hit some of the counties that we haven't, like Middlesex and Mercer, Burlington. We'll try to hit some of those counties next year. Altogether, we're going to be doing 18 trainings with this round of grant funding. So again, it's a 3-day in-person training with breaks in between. I went over the upcoming trainings, and the trainings will be scheduled through 2025. So it says look for new dates on NJDEP and the New Jersey Association of Floodplain Managers website. That's our registration, and the upcoming slide will talk about this is through the New Jersey Association of Floodplain Managers. If you're not aware of that organization, I would get familiar with it. NJAFM is the state organization under the Association of Floodplain Managers, which is the nationwide organization. So here's a link, and we'll share this PowerPoint to attendees. But here's a link to the website to go to sign up for the course that you're planning to take. Again, this course open to the general public, but priority is going to always be given to our local officials. Like I said, the course, the goal of the course again is to train the local floodplain administrator, but we want to train all local officials in the community so that all the local officials can help that floodplain administrator and understand what's required under the NFIP. And then, yeah, we do open up the course for anybody else and all other engineers who want to take the course, engineers or other members of the public who want to take the course. But priority is always given to the local officials and the county officials also. So we've got several resources that we've developed for the communities and the floodplain administrators. One of our most important resource is I've got an image here of New Jersey's Floodplain Administrators Guidebook. And if you're a floodplain administrator, I'd suggest going to this website and downloading this document because it does go over in detail what the responsibilities of the local floodplain administrator are. And, reading through this document and attending our 3-day course will really prepare someone to be, to understand their roles and responsibilities as a local floodplain administrator. We also have a model flood damage prevention ordinance. So communities that want to update their their ordinance can go to the website and use this model. Several years ago, FEMA had looked at our model and they made several recommendations. So we've been working with all 553 communities to update this model. And, you know, we're about 50% completed with all the communities have updated to the new New Jersey model. That's available on our website if you want to take a look at it. The Floodplain Administrator's Guidebook, a model floodplain development permit application form. We also have that on our website that communities can download and tailor to their community. A local design flood elevation worksheet goes over step by step computing that elevation that any development needs to be built above. We also have a New Jersey Substantial Damage Management Plan template. And if communities adopt that, they do get additional points through the CRS program. And quarterly, we send out a newsletter. There's a link here, but you could sign up for that newsletter and receive it in your email automatically. And there's no real set schedule, but we try to send one out every 3 months, so quarterly. And that was the presentation. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I've got plenty of time to answer any questions, but if somebody has any questions even afterwards, here's my contact information, and you could reach out to me anytime. You know, we do receive grant funding from FEMA to provide technical assistance to communities that have any questions on, you know, their responsibilities under the NFIP, and in particular, if the local floodplain administrator has any questions, you could always reach out to my office, and we could provide that technical information. But yeah, that's the presentation, and you know, like I said, we're going to share this PowerPoint. But yeah, if anybody has it on the line has any questions right now.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. I don't see any in the box yet. Sierra, have you received any privately?
They have not received anything, but I did just remind everybody they can drop their questions, or they can raise their hand, of course.
Yes, you can also, we can use the raise your hand function. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to address right now? I mean, I did see the schedule is and maybe this is for Kiana as well. Is this posted via like social media as well?
Yeah, I mean, we try to get it out through different avenues. I know Kiona tries to put it in her newsletters. NJAFM does advertise, try to advertise to the communities. We do try to send it to. We have a list of local floodplain administrators, but there's a lot of turnover in that position, so we get a lot of bounce backs on those emails. But we try to get the word out to everybody that we can. And that's why we wanted to have this lunch and learn, so maybe we could get some of the mayors and administrator aware of the training, and they can funnel that down to their staff.
Well, it probably would be a good idea for participants here, if you're interested, maybe to follow both the DEP and the Association for Floodplain Managers on your social media. They have I know the department has a Twitter feed, but on Facebook and other platforms, because you can kind of get some of this information about upcoming events in real time. All right. Any questions from the audience? Well, hearing none. I guess I guess we can wrap it up then. So again, my thanks to the department as well, and for Kiana and Joe. Thank you for your time. This will be recorded. This has been recorded and will be posted on the league's website for later viewing. So we'll also push it out through our channels as well. But if anyone missed anything, you can go back and watch it. We'll make the PowerPoint available for everyone. And please put this is important. This is a critical issue. Please take notice of the upcoming dates and stay tuned for more. But thank you all. Joe, thank you for your presentation. And I'm sure we're probably going to be hearing more from you in the upcoming months, years ahead. So thank you.
Yes.